Hey everyone, back on YouTube again. Good to be back on here. Wanted to talk about something different this time. I wanted to talk about the gay marriage debate. I know obviously there's quite a bit of controversy going on about this whole subject, and I mainly wanted to speak about this from a Christian perspective, but I wanted to move from a Christian perspective to a scientific perspective, biological perspective concerning this whole matter. One of the biggest issues that I'm seeing in Christianity, and I think this is one of the biggest reasons why Christians lost the gay marriage debate, was because we kept going at things from a strictly Christian standpoint. One of the things that I hear people say all the time is, "Oh, do you believe gays and lesbians should be allowed to get married?" And as far as I'm concerned, that's really not a good question. That's the wrong question to be asking. We as Christians come at it from, I think we really let people on the left really push us into a belief and not belief mindset. Well, do you believe gays and lesbians should be allowed to get married? Do you believe that gay people should be allowed to marry whoever they want? And part of the issue is belief has nothing to do with it. Now, obviously, as I've said before in my previous videos, I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, but too many Christians, they come at this from, well, I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, and that God, that God made it that way from the beginning, and it's an institution created by God. Yes, I believe that too. But the problem is Christians have been too focused on simply standing on faith, and the Bible says this and the Bible says that. And we don't explain to people it's not about what we believe, it's about what is biologically possible and what is biologically impossible. People don't understand. Marriage is comprised of two elements. There are two elements to marriage. And I'm amazed. I've never heard any pastor speak about this. I've never heard this addressed on social media or YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, any of that. But I want to address it because I feel like it needs to be said. There are two elements to marriage. Number one is the validation. The marriage needs to be validated. And by validation, in this country, it is illegal to get married without somebody who has been ordained. Say what you want. There has to be some figure, some religious figure of some kind to validate the marriage. They have to perform the marriage ceremony. They must be ordained. And people will say, well, what if the state doesn't validate the marriage? It's not necessarily about the state. And that's where people are messing this up. It's not about the state validating it. But there needs to be a third party that has the authority, the given authority to perform the marriage ceremony. There has to be. And this is a worldwide deal. I mean, you got people that are in tribes, in third world countries. In the end, there's still some figure. It could be some patriarchal figure, some matriarchal figure. Somebody is performing the marriage ceremony. So that way there's no confusion whatsoever. These two have chosen to live together for the rest of their lives as man and wife. So there's no debate, there's no confusion, there's no, oh, we're not sure, or oh, we don't know, or maybe possibly. No, it's these two have chosen to spend the rest of their lives together as man and wife. So that's in any major culture, any culture. When it comes to marriage, there's no doubt about it. These two are married. Don't mess with them. They're married. Don't mess with them. Okay, that's the first part. The first part is the validation. There has to be a third party involved. It's not, oh, well, we've just decided between ourselves that we're married. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. When I was younger, I used to, everybody's played house at some point, and oh, I'll be the husband, you be the wife, or whatever. But that's not. It doesn't make you married. Just because you believe you're married, it doesn't make you married. There has to be a third party involved. That's the first part. Walking down the aisle in and of itself and saying I do. That's the first part. Okay, or be justice of the peace, whatever. That's the first part. The second part and this is key and crucial, the second part of any marriage is the consummation of the marriage. And consummation, since the beginning of time, has always meant penile vaginal sex. That is how you consummate the marriage. It is physically and biologically impossible for two men to consummate a marriage. It is physically and biologically impossible for two women to consummate a marriage. It cannot be done. There is a process behind this. It's pretty simple. We all know how it works. I need to go into graphic detail about it, but we all know how that works. And this is not a perspective that people teach about. They don't talk about it, but this is something that's very important because we're losing it. This is where Christians have badly lost this debate. Well, I don't believe that gays and lesbians should be allowed to get married because I believe that the Bible says stop talking to people from that standpoint. If they're not Christians, they're not gonna listen to anything you have to say. The moment you say, "Well, I believe the Bible says this," we spend too much time speaking to people from a Christian worldview, and they blot us out. They cast us out. Speak to them from this perspective. There's two parts. It's a validation, it's a consummation of the marriage. The marriage must be consummated. And that's the reason why I know there's no such thing as gay marriage, because gays and lesbians can't get married. It's biologically and physically impossible. And I know they want to, obviously, but they can't do it. It's not possible. It's not physically possible to consummate a marriage with two men and two women. It cannot be done. There's a process behind it. And see, this is the reason why people getting married as virgins used to have so much significance, because this is how you knew the marriage was consummated. You can go back to ancient times, go back to thousands of years ago. How did people know the marriage was consummated? Well, mom and dad on both sides would stand outside the tent. The groom and the bride would go in the tent. They do what they had to do. The father of the bride would walk in. He'd grab that cloth. He'd show that cloth, that bloody cloth, to the father of the groom and say, "Yep, there you go. There's the proof right there. They did it. They're good to go. They're married now." That was your proof. Awkward. I'm glad that's not happening now. I'm glad we don't do that in the United States, but there was no such thing as, "Oh, we don't know, maybe, possibly, we're married, but do we really have to have sex?" Yes, you do. Yes, you do. And how do I know this? Simple. If you don't consummate the marriage, then you can get the marriage annulled. This is where annulment comes from. You have to consummate the marriage. There's no such thing as, "Oh, well, I like them, but I don't really want to do that with them. I just want to have a friend." Then you shouldn't be getting married. If you just want a friend, then just have a friend. Just have a friend. I mean, don't get married. Now there are situations I've heard where both people aren't particularly interested in sex, and but they really care about each other, but they're not sexually attracted to each other, but they get married anyway. Look, if you do that, I mean, once again, I'm not running into your bedroom. Frankly, I don't look. If that's what you want to do, then fine. But there's still the opportunity to consummate the marriage at some point. But you can't consummate a marriage between two men and two women. If Christians came at this debate with an understanding that there's really no debate involved, it's a matter of, well, it's not about what I believe. It's a matter of it's not possible. I mean, if gays and lesbians could consummate a marriage, then I'd say, okay, fine. I mean, do what you want to do. But it's not possible. Based on the definition of what it means to be married and what the definition of marriage is, gays and lesbians can't have that. It doesn't make me a homophobe. Doesn't mean I hate gays and lesbians. I've worked with people that are gay and lesbian. I think they're great people. They're funny. They're some of the funniest people I've ever met. But we've got to get out of this mindset of, oh, well, do you believe in this or believe in that? It's not about belief. It's about truth. That's all I got for today. Thanks.